Good morning, this is Bill from Auto Europe in Naples, and today I have this 2006 Nissan 350Z Grand Touring Roadster. You can call it a Nissan, but it'll always be a Datsun to me. Datsun was just the name that I grew up with, that I loved, that I still love, and every time I see one, I don't care if it's an Infiniti, Murano, you name it, it's still a Datsun in my world, and so is this. Anyway, this is the 5th generation Z car, one of the most iconic cars. I'm always saying that, but it really is true. The Z car presented this fantastic alternative to the British sports cars, to the Corvette, to the 911. It was a real enthusiast's car with great performance numbers on a budget from its inception. It came in at less than the competition and delivered more than it should. And that is what made the Z so incredibly successful over the years. That said, it did go away. In 1996, they ceased production, or at least ceased sales in the United States. It was still going elsewhere. But it took till 2003 to get it back. So there was a little hiatus before the Z car returned to the shore, but it did with a vengeance, and still is being sold today. In fact, the 6th generation 350Z just entered into its 10th year of production, which really shows you that Nissan just can't be bothered changing things anymore. Oh, I'm sure it's because it's a good car. Anyway, you can see the styling on the car is very unique, very interesting. One thing that I've always found fascinating about Japanese cars is the way the front end always sort of resembles something happy, whether it's a Miata or a 350Z. It just looks like a chipper friend on the way to say hi. It reminds me of a Labrador Retriever when you come home smiling and looking up at you, which, sort of detracts from its ominous track presence, but that said, it does have a good look. This one was designed in, I don't know how you say it, La Jolla, California. Nissan's design team. There was a big in-house competition to come up with this generation 350Z, and the California guys won. This is a Grand Touring, so it's got all kinds of extra tidbits. It's got Xenon headlights. Look at the big Z badge in the fender. Crazy looking door pulls. I mean, ridiculous, truly, but I guess they fit the design. Neat little humps there at the back. Big alloy wheels, 5 stars, crazy looking taillights that, make their way up the quarter panel. Kind of a plump rear end with an implied spoiler on the top of the deck lid. Big twice pipes at the bottom. Little rubber whip antenna there on the left. All in all, just a terrific looking car in coupe or roadster form. But of course, being Naples, Florida, we're all into the roadsters. Alright, let's start inside the trunk. I got like 20 keys in my pocket, so I gotta find the right ones here. So one measure of convertibles like this is how much trunk space they have. And this ain't bad. It's not fantastic, but it ain't bad. You're going to be able to fit some stuff in there, theoretically even some golf clubs. There's a, look at this, how to store a golf bag. So it is conceivable. You put the front end of the bag up there, lay the rear end across, and you might be able to squeeze them in. I don't know if you're going to get that big bag that that Rodney Dangerfield had in Caddyshack, but maybe a walking bag. Anyway, good trunk space. The top doesn't infringe on it at all. It's always the same, whether you have the top up or top down, and works pretty damn good. So the heart of every Z car has always been the engine, and for quite a long time, in fact since the inception of the Z car, it's had a 6-cylinder. For many, many years, of course, an inline 6, and this one now a VVT V6. Puts out about 287 horsepower. It's essentially the same engine used across the Nissan lineup in a variety of different cars, also the Infiniti G35 in these years. And is just a great engine. Silky smooth, plenty of power all the way through the rev band. This one's mated to a 5-speed auto stick transmission, and it just won't let you down. They have tremendous reliability, these cars. So not only do they perform and make themselves an absolute joy to drive, they also don't run into the shop too much. Beautiful big Xenon headlight assemblies there, lovely, making their way back into the fender the way the taillights come up the front. and just all very attractive all around. You know, just kind of neat. Really, I mean, the big air intake in the front, the crazy marker light, and that long, tall bumper. You know, it really is unique styling that doesn't look like much else. This door handle, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, big comfortable leather seats, again part of the touring or grand touring models. Very, very comfy to sit in, nice to the touch. You can see this one has nice low miles, so it's been well kept and still looks nice all around. They did in 06 really improve this car that had come out in 02. They gave it some suspension tweaks, they gave it speed sensitive power steering, they softened up the interior, put some leather here. You know, they made it a little bit nicer and more luxurious than it was, which has always been the internal battle with the Z car. I mean, when it came out as the 240Z, or, you know, the Fair Lady Z in Japan, you know, it was really a very pure sports car. It just didn't have more than it needed. There were some neat little styling touches, but it was intensely pure and lovely to drive around the track. As time went on, it just got bloated. You know, by the time the 280Z or 280ZX rolled around in the 80s, it was all crushed velour, velvety stuff and power everything, and you know, electronic voices that talk to you, and you know, they turned it into sort of a sporty Eldorado. And then it went back to its roots and back to its luxury. It's just been a whole big, you know, curvature of variation in the way these cars are thought of. And, you know, this one I think got the balance just right between sport and luxury. It's got just enough amenities to feel like you're upmarket, but not so much stuff that it weighs it down and makes it a pig. So it's a very nice balance, this car. Okay, this is very classic Z car. The 3 gauges facing you through the steering wheel. You got your water temp, your fuel, of course, 6600 Revline tach there. Little digital information stuff beneath them. 160 mile an hour speedo. Lovely sporty leather steering wheel with driver, you know, what do they call that, multifunction wheel. You got some nice looking stalks over there with the black and the silver, all very Japanese, almost looks 80s to me, which I think is great. These sort of jet thruster intake door handles with the vents built into them. You know, there's some really cool design going on in this thing. The 3 little gauges on top, that harkens back to the early Z cars. You've got a self-dimming electrochromatic mirror there with home link, all very nice. You got a little place to put your compact 9mm, lovely. In-dash CD changer with Bose sound. Here's your auto stick shifter with the leather and the alloy, your climate control. You got seat controls up here in an unusual spot that really works well. I kind of like them there. They're easy to get to, they don't interfere with anything else, and they're just nice. Let's fire this thing up. Always nice scenery around here in the morning, I have to say, more so than the old neighborhood. And there you get another wrong key. Okay, now you can hear that 6 fire right up. There is something lovely about the way that feels and sounds. It's just got this peppy, light, potent vibe where, you know, it just doesn't feel heavy, it doesn't feel light, it feels exactly right for, you know, flinging it around a country road or, you know, taking the long way to work. All right, so what do we have up there? We got our temperature, outside temp, your oil pressure, your volts, all very lovely stuff. We got a glove box here with stuff in it, I'm sure, if I could, no, what the hell is that? One of these weird little Japanese compartments. I mean, what the hell would you even put in there? I shudder to think. It's probably going to be illegal. I mean, there's just, what is that? I mean, it's this strange little plate. Nothing will fit in there that's, okay, anyway, there it is. Does it even have a glove box? If it, maybe it does, and I'm doing it wrong. It's all right. Okay, whatever. Down there is a 12-volt outlet, all very nice. You've got a little slidey bin here for more stuff. You got heated seats. You have another bin back here for more clips for your 9mm. You got more clips and bins and stuff back here. What do we got? Place to put more stuff, more 12-volt outlets. You know, these Japanese car companies for years have been giving us all these great little bins and storage compartments. I don't know what it is with living in Japan, but they must have a lot of crap they need to store in their car. Alright, so let's put it in D and just go for a cruise. I suppose I should run the top. Alright, to do that, lift up in the e-brake. Way over here, I'm going to turn the camera sideways, is the button for the top. You can see the tonneau goes up. Up comes the cover. It moves that seat forward a little bit to make all this happen, which is pretty cool. You can see the seat goes back. Very unique. And then we can put that into place there. I'm gonna press the top again, close. And it does not run the windows up. Okay, so you have to do that manually. Electric window lifts, as they call them in England. There it is. There's a great distinction between America and Britain. The difference between power windows, which just sounds like something you'd have in a Sherman tank, and electric window lifts, which sounds like, you know, something you'd have doilies hanging around. See if one of these nice people will let us out. And a little wheel spin there. Yeah, see that F-150 by, he's very angry that I managed to get out. God forbid that, you know, somebody makes it out in front of him. Anyway, the beautiful ergonomics in this car, and a nice mix of harkening to the classic Z car while at the same time being modern. The materials are nice, the contrasting colors are really nice. The steering is fantastic in this car. The wheel feels nice to grip, it's super responsive. You know, you turn it a 1/4 inch and you get immediate feel out of it. Yes, we got more cats up trees this morning. Of course, ice cold AC, good heat. You know, this is a real driver's car, and that's what the Z has always tried to be, even if it didn't quite make it. In the 80s, again, it was, you know, erring on the side of the Eldorado, but it still purported to be a driver's car, and then with the ensuing generations, they managed to pull it off again. With the VVT, it just keeps pulling and pulling. Man, it's just a lovely car to drive. It's so responsive to the gas pedal. It probably feels faster than it is. I mean, I don't know what the performance figures are. I didn't look them up. But I mean, I feel like I was just 0 to 60 in 5 seconds there, which I'm sure I'm not. But it's just this explosion of sound and pull and feel that you simply don't get in every driver's car out there. And some of them you just feel too detached. Anyway, we'll give it one more tug and then go. I remember a friend of mine, Life, he's a, you know, I probably brought him up before, strange guy. He had a 240Z or 260Z that he put a 350 Chevy in. This was something people did back in the 80s. And sawed, using a jigsaw, he sawed the roof off the car, which, you know, it really didn't have a lot of foresight, because all of a sudden he couldn't keep out the weather anymore. Oh man, that's nice. Feel the pull in that thing. Absolutely astounding. Anyway, you know, so he couldn't keep out the weather anymore, so it was great for the day he wanted to take it to the beach. But the first rainstorm that came along, he saw the error of his ways. Plus, the car got so loose because it no longer had the structural rigidity of the roof that you could barely drive it without, you know, having the thing fall into pieces. But anyway, neat car. This one, 06 350Z Grand Touring Roadster, automatic, 77,000 miles, immaculate, joyous car to drive, absolutely joyous. Such a free-revving little peppy guy. If you have an interest, give us a call. 239-298-8000 on the web at aenaples.com. Thank you so much for having a look. We appreciate it. give you a quick tour around the cabin again, and we'll see you with the next one. Take care.